Chapter 1. The Contract. The cafe was fairly quiet around them. Kevin bowed his head, looking down at the contract before him, eyes moving back and forth as he skimmed through the words. The man across the table from him watched silently, leaning forward on his elbows, with his fingers woven together. Kevin glanced up at the man sitting at the table opposite of him, doing so only briefly, as his attention didn't linger, so he didn't draw attention. Kevin found the guy kind of shady, the way he sat there with his collar turned up, his hood raised, and the dark sunglasses which covered his eyes. Justin Miles was a famous model and actor. Everyone knew his name. But there had been an incident that had been covered up, and no one knew the details for sure, though there were a lot of rumors. The actor had fallen on hard times and had lost a great deal of money. He had gone silent after that and had not accepted any work for a long time. He had done everything he could to try and make the problems go away. His agent had advised him to lay low. That was several months ago. And now, here he is. Kevin thought to himself, I never imagined the ad for the tenant wanted would be from this guy. He really must be struggling. I wonder what his place looks like. I bet it's in shambles. Oh well, can't be that bad surely. He paused for a moment and thought, I wonder what the rumors were. I never really did find out. You believe who I really am, don't you? The man called Justin asked him. Oh, Kevin fumbled. Yeah, I do. Kevin saw Justin frown then, the edge of his lip turned down slightly, and his brow furrowed. I have to keep a low profile a lot of the time, Justin said. I just want a normal life, you know? Oh yeah, Kevin said. And don't tell anyone who I really am. You got that? Yeah. So, are you going to sign the contract or what? Yeah, Kevin said. I'm just reading the last bit. And stop saying, yeah. It's annoying. Kevin glanced up uncertainly at the man. He's kind of intimidating. You understand the rules? Justin asked him. Yeah, I understand the rules. Kevin smiled awkwardly in response. I only get one chance. That's right, Justin replied. No pets, no parties, no noise after 11. Piss me off and you get kicked out without any second chances. Man, this guy's intense, Kevin thought. But I need a place to stay. Okay, Kevin replied. Seems fair. Hardly, he added, silently in his head. I just signed here, right? Just hurry up, Justin groaned. Kevin signed his signature along the dotted line, and as soon as he had, Justin wiped the paper out of his hand. Good, Justin said, folding the contract up quickly and rising to his feet. So, are you ready to see the place? Yes, of course. Kevin forced a smile, trying to act casual. They left the cafe. Kevin, walking a step behind Justin as he walked quickly, they stopped at the lights, waiting for the man to turn green. So, where's your stuff? Justin asked, standing there with his hands in his pockets. It's, Kevin replied, at home. It won't take me long to move. I don't own a lot. Just a few books and clothes. Justin slowly turned to face him, wearing a frown upon his face. Kevin smiled innocently back at him. What kind of a guy wears sunglasses in winter? It's not even sunny. Man, what douche. So why are you moving out? Justin asked him. You don't have any problems, do you? Any emotional family issues? I'd hate to have to deal with that crap. Kevin stared at him, seeing his own face staring back from the reflection of Justin's sunglasses. He caught himself then, realizing Justin would be expecting a reply. "Oh no, it's nothing like that," Kevin spoke hastily with a smile. "I'm adopted, you see. Both my parents died when I was a baby, so I don't remember anything about them. My adopted parents have been good to me my whole life. I don't want to be a burden on them anymore, so I'm moving out. That's all," he finished awkwardly. Justin replied shortly. "How old are you?" 20. "I'm 21, Justin replied, turning away. Kevin let out a silent sigh, looking back at his feet. A few seconds passed, and Justin stepped forward. The man had turned green, and they crossed the road. "So, do you live near here?" Justin glanced back at him in a look that wasn't exactly friendly. "Are you trying to get to know me?" Justin asked. "No, I was just wondering how far we have to walk." Justin looked ahead again. "It's just a few minutes," he replied. "Not far now." A short while later, they reached a tall block of flats in a beautiful part of the town. It was fairly quiet here, and the docks nearby were serene, the waters clean, everything was peaceful. The space they came to was spacious. The little flower beds along the path spilled delicate purple flowers. The sea was not far away, and the smell of the fresh, salty breeze was in the air. "I guess he does still have some money left. This is a pricey part of town," Kevin thought as he glanced about. "I guess it's a good sign. His flat must be pretty nice, too." They entered the foyer of the building, going past the reception desk and heading to the lifts. "I suppose your place is on top of the floor," Kevin commented, entering the lift after Justin. "As a matter of fact, it is," Justin replied curtly, pressing the button for the top floor, the doors closing and trapping them in the tiny space together. Kevin tilted his head as the lift went up quickly, painfully aware of their close proximity in the small lift. "You think a building with this many apartments would have a larger lift?" Kevin thought bitterly. The lift slowed to a stop, and the doors played a short and pleasant tune as they opened again. And an automated female voice called the floor as they were on it. There was only one short corridor here, with only a few doors, their surfaces a shiny red, with silver handles. Kevin followed Justin as he went one of the doors at the end of the corridor, bringing out a single key and unlocking the door. He stepped in, and Kevin, for the first time, got to see the place he would be staying. "Whoa," he gasped, unable to help himself. "This place is incredible." It was a large open space, everything designed with a modern style, everything matching. Downstairs was just a simple, large and open room, a kitchen on one side, white sofas in the middle, and stairs leading up to the balcony above, where there were only 2 doors that Kevin could see. The windows were large, letting the light spill into the room, and there were a few potted plants here and there, their leaves lush and green. Everything was clean and tidy. And as Kevin glanced about, at the bookshelves beside him, he saw not a speck of dust anywhere. Kevin turned his attention on to Justin then, who stood in the center of all of it, hand on his hip and frowning at Kevin in annoyance. "Are you just going to stand there? Shut the door," he said, and Kevin quickly obliged. "So, how much did you say rent was again?" Kevin asked tentatively. As stated on the contract, single payment every month, no catches, no strings attached. Just follow the rules. Hold on a sec. Kevin stopped him as Justin made to move away. That's incredibly cheap for a place like this size. Wait, I've got a proper room, haven't I? I mean, I'm not staying in a cupboard or anything. Justin moved away, heading to a door nearby. And opening it, "This is your room," Justin said, indicating. Kevin shuffled forward, tentatively, but was surprised to see it. Yes, for it was just as big and large as the rest of the apartment. It was massive, empty, but massive, with a modern and tasteful design, and clean. The room smelt new and unused, and there were fresh sheets on the bed. The double bed by the back wall and a few cupboards were all that were in there, and the room was dark. The floor-to-the-ceiling windows covered by thick curtains now. "This is my room? I just need a bit of extra cash to help things along," Justin said. "That's all." Kevin gave a stoic glance to Justin then. "Are you going to murder me or something? If I have a look under the bed, will there be the remains of the last tenant?" "You watch too much horror," Justin said, letting the door swing open. "I'm going to make some food," he said, moving away. Kevin watched him go before turning back to the room. He stepped inside. The first thing he did was to draw the curtains, letting the sunlight flood into the room. He checked the drawers, which were empty, checking under the bed before sitting on the bed itself and bouncing up and down. It was comfortable, and the sheets were soft. Kevin paused then, looking back through the open bedroom door and into the main room of the apartment, where Justin was bustling about the kitchen. Kevin listened to the sounds of things moving in the kitchen, remaining where he was for a moment before rising and moving back across the room towards the door. He stood on the threshold with his hand upon the frame, seeing Justin properly for the first time. He couldn't help but let out a small gasp. Justin had lowered his hood, his collar turned down, and the sunglasses upon the kitchen counter. His features could be seen clearly now. He had bright blonde hair, artificially dyed, and it was short and wavy on the top and long and wavy on the bottom, the long strands resting upon his shoulders. He was incredibly handsome, his features flawless, and eyes shining bright. He was a mature figure, with a serious expression and skin like porcelain. Kevin continued to stare with his mouth open slightly and eyes unblinking. Kevin suddenly thought then that if Justin smiled, he would be far more beautiful. Justin stopped suddenly, looking up with a frown of annoyance as he realized Kevin was staring at him. "What?" "Oh, nothing," Kevin fumbled in reply, turning away hastily, but glancing back moments later. "You can eat whatever food is in the house," Justin was saying, taking plates out of the cupboard and dishing up the food. "Just tell me when something runs out, okay?" "Sure," Kevin mumbled. He approached the table cautiously, seeing what Justin had cooked up. It was stir-fry, quick and easy to make. "So, you're a good cook then," Kevin tested. "No," Justin replied flatly, "but I can make this." He walked away, then suddenly, without warning, heading towards the front door. "Where are you going, Justin?" Kevin asked. "I've got to go out. I've got things to do." "But what about food?" "I'll eat it when I get back," Justin replied briskly, before snapping the door shut and vanishing. Kevin stood there in the ringing silence, feeling a little lost in the massive apartment.
"So what's he like?" Kevin frowned, groaning slightly. "Well," he said, "he's sort of intense, but he seems nice enough, I suppose. His friend Christina watched him with an unconvinced expression, frowning back at him. You know, if you're ever uncomfortable or anything, you can stay at my place. Yeah, I know, Kevin mumbled, but I don't want to be a burden or anything. Oh, hardly. You know you can never be a burden on me. They were in Kevin's room, the one he was moving out of. His friend Christina had come over to help him move his possessions over to the new place. That's kind of you to offer, though, Kevin said to her. But I want to make my own way in this world, and crashing with friends for free isn't the way to go. Plus, you rent, and you're not allowed tenants. It's okay if it's only short term. Exactly. Christina tilted her head at him, her glossy blonde hair falling over her shoulders. You need to learn that it's okay to ask people for help sometimes, she told him. I know that, Kevin sighed wearily. I just want to do things on my own if I can. Sure. It only took a short amount of time to gather Kevin's things. Mostly it was just his clothes. They managed to fit all the stuff he wanted to take with him into 2 large boxes, carrying each one down the stairs. They left them by the door as Kevin went to say goodbye to his parents. You know you can come home any time, his mother said, hugging him. I know, Mom. He smiled as he held her back. But I'm not a kid anymore. Come visit us whenever you can, his father said, extending a hand to Kevin for him to shake. You know we'll always be here for you. Kevin made his farewells, leaving the house with Christina close beside him. She was facing away from him now, sniffing sadly. Oh, Christina, come on, don't get sad. I'm still close to home. I know, it's just, she sniffed again, eyes teary. Your family are so sweet. They're going to miss you so much, I'm sure. My family hardly noticed that I was gone. Kevin turned to her then. Christina had come from an abusive family and a difficult past. She had ran away from home at the age of 13, staying with a friend. She had gotten a job, working hard when she wasn't in school, so she could afford a place of her own, a dream which eventually became a reality. She had her own small apartment now. Though it was a little old and shabby, she had made it warm and welcoming. I can't wait to see this new place of yours. She gleamed at him. I love moving house and decorating and stuff. Well, there's not much to decorate, I'm afraid, Kevin told her as they walked along the street, each with a cardboard box in their hands. The place is pretty nice. The guy's rich and rent is cheap. He says he only wants a little to help him along. I was actually incredibly lucky to get this offer. I'll say, Christina gleamed at him, looking ever more beautiful. Never allow a good opportunity to slip away. That's what I've learned. Kevin paused then, turning to face her. Are you sure you don't want to take a bus? It's a bit of a long walk, an hour at least by foot, with these boxes. It's a lovely day, Christina beamed at him. I want to walk. Fine, Kevin said, turning away. Suit yourself. They stopped about half an hour or so later, outside a corner shop, sitting on a low wall by the road outside. Kevin had been left the guard of the boxes, while Christina ran inside to get them refreshments. She arrived minutes later with a small bottle of water, each, and a pack of sandwiches to share. Chicken Orleans, Kevin grinned excitedly as she sat beside him. I love that sandwich. I know, she spoke in a playful voice. Of course I do. She tucked her skirt beneath her as she sat close beside him, taking out one of the sandwich pieces and feeding it to him. Kevin opened his mouth wide as she did, biting down into the bread. You're so messy, she giggled, using a napkin to dap at his mouth. Kevin smirked at her, taking the napkin from her as she took her own sandwich piece. Ah, Kevin sighed then, leaning back and staring up at the gorgeous blue sky above them. He loved this town. Even in the busy streets, with the traffic and the noise and the people, he found a strange sort of peace to it, despite the bustle. It was at least pleasant to him anyway. I love these moments, Kevin said, where there is nothing to do, nothing expected of me. No deadlines, no responsibility. Are you worrying about school again? I just feel so trapped by it all, Kevin said to her. I mean, who wants to learn algebra? I want to get a job full-time, spread my wings. And he fell silent then, bringing his feet up and hugging his knees to his chest. I just love these peaceful moments. He sighed again, closing his eyes. It's so peaceful. And I don't have to think about anything. There came a sound of a siren. A short distance off, the rumble of a motorbike, someone shouting in the streets. Kevin opened his eyes, smiling widely to himself. His expression, that of serenity. Come on, he said, straightening and rising to his feet as he took a quick swig from his water bottle. Let's get going. They walked the rest of the way at a luxuriously pace. Christina and Kevin talking from time to time, their conversation flowed back and forth, smoothly as it always does. As they drew closer to the apartment block, Christina began to oh and ah. This is a really nice part of town, she said, gazing about her wide-eyed. Oh, look at that fountain, so pretty. Kevin ignored her as they walked through the front doors to the building. Aw, wow, look at this place. They stopped before the lift. The music they're playing is really nice, huh? She gleamed. The lift doors opened. This is a tiny lift, isn't it? The lift went up. Oh, this lift goes up fast. My tummy feels all funny. The lift paged then, coming to a gentle stop. Ah, Christina sighed, making a funny shape with her mouth. Oh, she said as they stepped out into the corridor on the highest flood. This place sure is pretty. Is there anything that doesn't impress you? Kevin asked her, flatly at that point. Your hair really looks nice today, she said to him out of the blue, grinning and looking beautiful. Where did that come from? They continued to walk. Okay, it's this one, Kevin said, stopping by one of the doors. Oh, Christina said as Kevin struggled with his key, holding the box he carried now with one arm. Kevin unlocked the door, letting it swing open. Then Christina let out a gasp, bolting forward into the room uninvited and gazing wide-eyed all around. Holy crap, this place is huge. It is like a mansion. She turned to Kevin then. You live here? Well, yeah, I got a key. I didn't say you could invite anyone over. Kevin and Christina glanced around then, looking up to the figure of Justin, who had appeared on the balcony above them. Upon sight of him, Christina's eyes widened further, and she let out another gasp. "Is that Justin Miles? The Justin Miles?" She gasped yet again. "Holy shit, dude! Kevin, you never told me you were staying with a superstar." "Oh," Kevin replied innocently. "Did I not mention it?" he asked, knowing that he hadn't. "No, you didn't," Christina replied sternly. "I don't want you inviting people over," Justin said to Kevin in a firm voice. "It's not like that," Kevin smiled a little nervously. "Christina was just helping me bring my stuff over," he said, putting his own box down and taking the one Christina carried from her. "Isn't that right, Christina?" "What?" she fumbled, as he put the box he took from her on the floor beside their feet. "She was just leaving now, weren't you, Christina?" "Huh? Hold on a sec. Wait." Justin spoke up, coming down the stairs. "She must tell no one I live here." He spoke to Kevin. "Your contract depends on it." "Oh, don't worry," Kevin said, continuing to usher Christina to the door. "She is trustworthy." "She better be," Justin replied flatly. Kevin stopped on the threshold of the front door, smiling at Christina, who looked dejected. "So sorry," he smiled apologetically. "Must obey the rules, you know." "Yeah, I know," she grumbled. Promise you will keep this secret," Kevin whispered to her, putting a finger to his lips and winking at her. "Sure." "Promise?" She straightened slightly then. "I swear on my heart and soul I will tell no one." She relaxed again, smiling to him. "I wouldn't do that to you." "I know you wouldn't," he smiled in return. "I'll talk to you later, okay?" She let out a disappointed sigh, stepping back away from the door. "Okay. Do you want money for the bus or something?" Kevin offered her. "Nah, I'm good. Thanks." She waved away at him, back to her merry self again. "It's a nice day and all." She moved away. "I do want to talk to you again later, though," she said. "No problem." "Bye then, Kevin," she gleamed, before turning and starting away, down the corridor, back towards the lifts. She glanced at him with a teasing smile, just one last time as she walked away, before Kevin closed the door. He sighed heavily, turning back to Justin, who had appeared behind him. "I do mean what I say," Justin told him. "I don't want people knowing I'm here." "Don't worry," Kevin said. "She's one of my best friends. I trust her with my life. She won't tell anyone about you." Justin bowed his head, turning and walking away towards the kitchen, seemingly satisfied. "Do you want something to eat?" Justin asked, opening the fridge and staring into it. "No thanks," Kevin replied. "I got a sandwich. I think I'm just going to hang out in my room." Justin continued to stare into the fridge as Kevin carried one of the boxes into his room, then came back for the other. He glanced back towards Justin just as he was closing the door, shutting himself in his room. He let out a sigh, standing there for a few moments and simply taking in the room around him. It was large and very bright. The floor-to-ceiling windows let all the light flood in. Kevin moved to the window, staring down at the area before the building, the large open space with a fountain in the center. It was so pretty here, so peaceful. Kevin reached for the string, pulling the curtains shut and throwing the room into darkness. He moved over towards the bed, falling back against it and letting out a deep sigh. Today had been tiring. Though he hadn't done that much, he felt suddenly drained as he realized that for the first time in his life, he was living alone. Well, almost. Kind of. Kevin pushed himself up onto his elbows then, staring at the closed door of his room. On the other side, Justin was probably in the kitchen, cooking or doing whatever he was doing. I wonder what it would be like living with him, Kevin thought to himself. I wonder. His mobile went off in his pocket then, and Kevin took off his shoes quickly, shuffling up to the bed before taking his mobile out. It was a text from Christina. Hey, ya baby. How you doing? Kevin takes back with a frown upon his face. Damn it, woman, I just got here. Give me some peace. The reply came quickly. Nope. Kevin smiled to himself and messaged back. So what are you up to now? They messaged each other back and forth for a while, and as Kevin laid back on the bed, he began to feel tired. I'm tired. I'm going to sleep now. See you in school tomorrow. Kevin ignored the reply as he dropped the mobile by his side, closing his eyes and yawning widely. He groaned, resting his head back against the headboard and becoming still. He was asleep in minutes.